Hello, everyone. Good morning. I apologize I couldn't be there in person. I tried to get out there but couldn't due to some circumstances. But I am glad to be able to talk with you all today remotely. Talk about how excited MITRE is to be partnering with SOFAR on this Bristlemouth standard. To give you a little background on myself, I'm Nick Rotker. I'm MITRE's Chief BlueTech Strategist. I lead all of our maritime work for the MITRE Corporation. And my background, when they used to let me do really fun technical things, was underwater acoustics and underwater sensing. So I have a deep appreciation for what the team is trying to do here with Bristlemouth and why it's important. So without further ado, um, for those in the room who don't know what a miter is, which there's probably several of you, I wanted to give you kind of a brief overview of what a miter is and why miter does the things that we do, because that really helps set the stage for why us partnering with SOFAR on Bristlemouth is so important. So miter operates six federally funded research and development centers, or FFRDCs. We are a mission-driven corporation, and everything we do is in the public interest. So we have to remain conflict-free and objective in all the work that we do. So working on things like standards bodies or developing standards for the communities is right within our charter as running these FFRDCs. As I mentioned, we run six of them. So while I focus on maritime related efforts across all six FFRDCs, we do have folks across the entire country that are focusing on specific problems. For the six FFRDCs, our oldest one is the National Security Engineering Center, or NSEC. That was our first one and founded in 1958. That focuses across all the DoD services, and we deliver system engineering capabilities to all of our DoD sponsors. The next one is the Center for Advanced Aviation and System Development, or CASD. That one is focused on the FAA and Department of Transportation. The next one is our healthcare FFRDC, which handles HHS and Center for Medical Sciences. We have the Homeland Security System Engineering and Development Institute, which focuses on Department of Homeland Security and U.S. Coast Guard and FEMA. And then we have the Center for Enterprise Modernization, which includes Department of Commerce, Treasury, and VA. And under the Department of Commerce includes all of the work that we support for NOAA and the Economic Development Agency. And the last one, which is important for this context, is we do run the National Cybersecurity FFRDC for NIST. So we are currently in a role of helping develop cybersecurity standards across all of the federal government. And so working on things like this standard that we're going to talk about today falls very well within our roles and responsibilities as FFRDCs. Um, the other thing I wanna really touch on here quickly is we have this unique vantage point. So MITRE, as you can see there, interacts across all of the federal government. And so we understand the government's most pressing problems, their gaps, their needs, and we work across industry, academia, and government to try to solve those problems as efficiently as possible. We can't make products, we can't compete with industry, and it allows us to partner in unique ways that others are probably not allowed to do. So I don't need to preach to this crowd too much about this, but this is my, why oceans are important and why it's really hard, right? So the oceans, they make up 70% of the Earth's surface, and they're really integral in our economic, national, and climate security. They play a huge role in our climate regulation, in terms of our transportation, our economy around fisheries and goods and services being transferred around. And so understanding what's going on in the ocean is vitally important. And that's where we see the need for a standard like Bristlemouth to help drive innovation and accelerate the ability for folks to get new technology into the ocean, given how important it is for both our national economy as well as our global economy and national security, as well as our climate security. So one of the quotes that I like to use is from a MITRE advisor, Dr. Robert Ballard. For those who don't know, he's the one who found the Titanic. Um, he says, 50% of our country that we own and have legal jurisdiction to have all the rights to do whatever we want lies beneath the sea, and we have better maps of Mars than we do that 50%, right? So everything that MITRE is doing in the maritime or blue tech space is driving towards how do we get better understanding of what's going on in our world's oceans. And some of the pain points um, are, the barrier to entry for new technology and innovation is high. It's really difficult to break into this industry, right? You have to have a lot of know-how around a lot of different engineering disciplines. It's really costly, right? It's very expensive to test things and be able to get the information or the data you need to prove that your technology works, right? And so there's these persistent access to ocean data. Obviously, so far with their spotter buoys is one solution to that problem, right? Where we're trying to get more stuff in the water and make it easier for folks to get information that they need. And as most folks in the room know, undersea remote sensing, there's a huge volume and a lot of sparseness when it comes to sensors, right? And at the end of the day, these platforms, they're still primarily communications and power limited. And so what we're really trying to do here is help enable this standard to push things forward and allow to solve some of those gaps that I list here. So what is MITRE BlueTech? Real quickly, because I hope to be able to partner and collaborate with many of you in this room as we move forward. We do a lot of research and development in the maritime space. We build stuff, we test stuff, we deploy stuff, we solve our sponsors, being the federal government, their mission and their gaps. Our focus area is everything from the Arctic region, defense areas, climate and environment, and we really focus on things from the seabed to outer space and all the comms, sensing, platform integration, system integration, modeling, those type of capabilities are all things that our team does on a day-to-day basis, and capabilities that we plan on bringing as we are working with so far on this Bristlemouth standard. Um, the other thing that we do is we partner with lots of different organizations, both nationally and internationally. So we're really trying to bring the blue tech ecosystem together across academia, government, and industry in unique ways. All right. So now let's get down to brass tacks here. So as Tim and Evan mentioned, we are forming this partnership with SOFAR and the Bristlemouth community to help really lead this standard forward. We see a huge opportunity right now in bringing MITRE's entire background to bear to help focus on some key needs to get to this sustainable standard that the community is adopting. So stealing some slides from Tim and Evan earlier, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about where we see MITRE fitting into these things. So, as Evan mentioned, while these are kind of loose delineations in terms of this partnership, we're really going to be helping across that dotted barrier there. So MITRE has a long history of working with standards and driving standards for the national and federal governments. Several of them include we are actively involved in 5G and next G communication standards. We have many of the top engineers that are working on leading those standards. Another standard that we work on, our standards body that we're helping lead, is MOSA, which is a DoD standard, which stands for Modular Open Systems Approach, right? So we are often working on these modular open system capabilities across the DoD and our other sponsors. So MITRE really sees itself helping guide this Bristlemouth standard, given our background across all these different agencies and our ability to bring these standards to bear. Since we have to remain conflict free and objective free, this is a very good sweet spot for MITRE to play, right? We're driving technology, we're driving innovation, and we're helping create this open ecosystem that in turn drives more innovation in industry and enables our government sponsors to work quicker. And so this is really a key area for where MITRE wants to be when it comes to helping develop new maritime capabilities. Um, the other thing that MITRE often works on in this space is really around the governance structure, right? We often help convene and set up large coalitions and consortiums around things like this. And so we have a lot of history and track record of bringing together the right groups of folks, the right experts, the right industry, academic, and government partners to really enable what that governance should look like so that we can help so far focus on the technical development as well as the community focus on the technical development because we're helping bring some of that governance and sustainability capabilities to this program. And while we don't want so far to have all the fun, there are obviously things that our engineers who work with these products all the time have in terms of ideas of helping drive the core technology, helping drive the developer community, and enabling OEM support. MITRE is often brought upon specifically by the federal government to help create interoperability standards for various capabilities. And so this Bristlemouth opportunity really falls right in that bailiwick, which will enable us to, again, help develop new technologies within the ocean space and help our sponsors, the federal government, move quicker in new and exciting ways. So I wanted to talk a little bit about these three pillars that was mentioned earlier and kind of where MITRE fits in. The first is the technology. I talked a little bit about it earlier, but we have a very deep technical bench across a lot of different technical capability areas. MITRE has about 10,000 employees globally with about 8,000 subject matter experts, engineers, and scientists. And so we're going to bring a wealth of knowledge and technical capability to driving these type of standards. An example of a standard in the maritime space that we've been working on most recently is actually for NOAA and the Northeast Fisheries Science Center. MITRE is working to create interoperability acoustic communication standards, working with Woods Hole Oceanographic and the current ropeless on-demand fishing gear manufacturers to develop some interoperability technology so that we can enable that entire ecosystem and community to work better together. So really working on driving the technology roadmap to get it to where it needs to be. Another area within the technology roadmap is really around security, right? As we create this open architecture and this open hardware and software architecture, there's going to need to be thought put in around security. And in order to get, say, the DoD to really buy in and create more adoption, you're going to need a robust cybersecurity and anti-tampering type capabilities. And so we can bring a wealth of knowledge in that space, given all that we do across our sponsors in terms of hardware and software hardening and cybersecurity. So we're really going to try to work with the open community. We obviously don't want to lock it down. We want to keep the innovation growing, but there's going to be a need for more security as this continues to grow in terms of adoption and use. Under the community banner, as I mentioned before, MITRE really works across industry, academia, and government. And so we really want to work with the Bristlemouth community, identify other folks that we work with every day that may be interested and may not have heard about this, and bring those folks into this ecosystem so that we can really push the adoption of this standard forward. And then finally, the standard, right? Steering, dissemination, licensing, and control. And as I said, we spend a lot of time working on committees like that. We have a whole FFRDC focused on NIST and their needs. And so we are very ready to help as this unbiased, objective-free entity to help really drive the standard and bring the community along with us. And so with that, I wanted to talk about three specific use cases where MITRE is planning on utilizing Bristlemouth as part of our day-to-day operations, right? So it's not just that we want to be part of steering this community. We plan on being users of this technology and helping drive that innovation. So the first is around our MITRE BlueTech lab. So in Bedford, Massachusetts, on campus, we have a brand new, it's a year old maritime testing facility. It is one of MITRE's first labs that's available to the outside community. So if you have interest in utilizing it for testing and evaluation, you're welcome to reach out. It's one of the largest in the region. It's about 620,000 gallons. And it's really set up for acoustic testing, optical sensing, and autonomy projects. One of the things that we plan on doing with this BlueTech lab and the Bristlemouth Standard is we want to develop one of the first Bristlemouth innovation centers. So what we are working with so far on is making sure that our facility is instrumented with Bristlemouth capabilities. So when people come and they want to test or evaluate, they're able to plug and play into all of our recording systems, all of our capabilities to enable faster testing and evaluation of new capabilities. We also want to make this a hub for where people can come, and if they're trying to figure out things with Bristlemouth, it's a place where they can come and work through some of the issues they may be having or enable them to move faster with the Bristlemouth Standard. So we are working to develop this Bristlemouth Innovation Center along with SOFAR. The next thing that I want to talk about is a capability that we call Blue Nerve. This is a secure unclassified network that MITRE has where we're connecting institutions together that have infrastructure and data and compute capabilities in the maritime environment. It allows for, say, us to have a platform in our BlueTech lab interacting with something off the pier at SOFAR if they were connected into this network. And so we can start doing joint experimentation, collaboration in real time. We view Bristlemouth as an opportunity to enable this network by being able to add more capabilities, more sensors in a plug and play method where we can really showcase that joint experimentation that is distributed in a way that we can't currently today. So MITRE is working to enable Bristlemouth capabilities and ingestion into this Blue Nerve architecture. And then the last one, which is really exciting for us, MITRE is working on what we call the A3N network. And this is a digital analog network for autonomous underwater and surface vehicle simulation. So MITRE has developed a digital environment within our BlueTech lab that is coupled with using NVIDIA Omniverse technology. And so what we're able to do is we're able to simulate things within this Omniverse world, put it in the tank and confirm and validate that model and iterate. And we also have connections into actual instrumented test ranges. And where we view Bristlemouth fitting into this architecture is, again, speeding up the ability and the interoperability of the real platforms and getting that data and information into these virtual and digital worlds that we're building to fastly iterate on developing new platforms, new capabilities, and new modeling and simulation opportunities. And so these are just some of the many ideas that MITRE has been working with to try to enable Bristlemouth in our day-to-day work programs. And we're looking forward to working with you all and especially SOFAR on driving this standard forward. And so with that, I will get off the stage here. I'm happy to, I don't know if we're doing questions and answers here, Tim and Evan, but if anyone has any follow-up questions, I'm happy to chat. You can reach out either at my email address, which is nrotker@mitre.org, or you can email bluetech@mitre.org to get in contact with us. So thank you all.